Ahava and blessings. Welcome to Hold the Shekhinah. This podcast is created to support us in awakening, in remembering, in integrating the wisdom of our soul, the light of the divine feminine, the Shekhinah. I am your host. I am Aurea, a Reiki master, sound and energy healer, Magdalene priestess. And today we are going to talk about something that is very dear to my being. And it is all about frequency. So I work with sound. And a lot of my work has to do with supporting people, guiding them through clearing any blockages they may have in their physical, emotional, energetic bodies to support them in achieving their goals. I do this through energy healing and through sound. Sound is energy healing. Sound is a form of energy. Sound is a frequency. It's a wave. It's an oscillation of particles. Every cell in your body is vibrating at a specific frequency. Every organ has its own frequency. The earth has a resonance. So we're going to talk about vibration, frequency, resonance. We are going to talk about the importance of understanding and how we create, understanding what this is and how we create our world from these frequencies. So our thoughts emit electromagnetic waves. Our thoughts, our words have, the moment that they vibrate through our vocal cords and express outwards, they are creating our world. And this may be a little bit difficult for some people to grasp because you see a delayed effect in your manifestation here on this earth plane. Although manifestation and our ability to co-create our reality is happening much, much faster now that the earth's own frequency is elevating and raising, and that we are receiving the upgrades from the sun. So everything is speeding up. So I'm going to start with a couple boring things. So I'm going to define resonance, frequency, and vibration. So let's start with frequency. Frequency is defined as the rate at which something occurs or is repeated over a particular period of time or in a given sample. Okay, vibration is a physics term. It is defined as an instance of vibrating, but in physics it's defined as an oscillation of the parts of a fluid or an elastic solid whose equilibrium has been disturbed, or of an electromagnetic wave. And resonance, also a physics term, it's the reinforcement or prolongation of sound by reflection from a surface or by the synchronous vibration of a neighboring object. So it's also the quality of the sound of being deep, full, reverberating. So you will sometimes hear me use these terms interchangeably, because it pretty much is defining the same thing. It's defining the way that your personal frequency, or what we're working on, is emitting from your field. So we may have blockages where it comes to money or finances or relationships or family situations, which technically would be relationships, could be illness. So basically, whenever we experience a traumatic event, it leaves an imprint on our energetic field. And if this isn't resolved, that energetic imprint starts creating on the fibers of our being. So the cells begin changing. So unresolved grief may result in lung illnesses, may result in heart illnesses. Unresolved fear may result in urinary tract deficiencies, kidney issues. So every cell in your body, every organ has its own frequency. It has its own rate at which it emits energy. And what's interesting is how not only is our body vibrating when it's healthy at a specific rate, But when it's ill, it vibrates at a lower frequency. It's the same thing with the earth. When the earth is out of alignment, she shakes it off with earthquakes, tsunamis, waves. Like there's always something that the earth is doing to bring herself back into alignment. And we have become very disconnected from our own physiology, our own body, our own biology, as well as from that of the earth, and from the fact that we are all interconnected. We see separations between ourselves and other people, ourselves and the earth, ourselves and the animal kingdom, because we think that our physical body, because what we see ends at our skin that contains our essence. But we don't understand that our essence is not just this physical body. We are this infinite being, a particle of the divine that is expressing itself in this moment as a human or as a cat or as a husky. So it's everything really, when we look at it from a higher perspective, is interconnected, is interrelated. And sound is really a powerful tool for us to get beyond the monkey mind, the ego, and get down to your heart, down to like the nuts and bolts, the psyche, the subconscious, the depths, underwater, that which we do not see. So all of these things that are going on that perpetuate and create when we are unconscious and unaware, our reality through sound, through working with energy, through understanding our own energy and our own resonance, we're able to transmute, to alchemize, to transform whatever it is in our world, in our external world, that is being reflected from our internal world. And this has been used, sound has been used as a healing therapy, as well as the sun, for millennia. There are ancient cultures that have developed mantras and practices, because even when we move, when we do a practice, or when we engage in a series of mudras, which are hand positionings, that's creating an energetic imprint in your field. So that is either weakening you or it's strengthening you. Therefore, the ability to transform our reality really is in our hands. The ability for us to shift and change and learn a new frequency is at our fingertips. It's just a matter of becoming aware, of attuning ourselves to those resonances. So I'm going to talk a little bit also about, so when I work with sound, I work with certain frequencies. There are ancient frequencies called the solfeggio frequencies, where they are specific oscillations that are harmonic, that support us in working through things. So before, around World War II, all music was 432 hertz. 432 hertz is known as the frequency of the earth. It's known as the frequency of God in some ways. It is known as the heartbeat of the earth. And it has, from ancient times, from the ancient Egyptian, from the Greek times, all of those instruments of those eras were attuned to 432 hertz. 432 hertz was seen as a harmonic healing frequency that supported the body in coming back into alignment and coming back into resonance. So as of the 1950s, what was discovered was that humanity could be manipulated and controlled by switching the frequency. So they switched all musical tuning to 440 hertz. And now all musical tuning and all music is tuned to 440 hertz. However, there were some great musicians like John Lennon, Jimi Hendrix, Bob Marley, Prince, who tuned their music to 432 hertz. So it's a lot of, actually, all of my bowls. So my bowls, my crystal singing bowls, are attuned to either 432 hertz, 417 hertz, 528 hertz, or 639. So these frequencies are very powerful to work with, and you don't have to buy my singing bowls. You don't have to like listen to my particular sound healings if that's not your jam. But if you're here, this might be your jam. So welcome. But I want to share with you what these frequencies mean. So the original solfeggio frequencies, the first one was ut, and it was 396 hertz. And this frequency worked to support people in liberating guilt and fear. 417, which is the Re frequency, facilitated change and supported us through transitions. So if we were moving, if we were shifting from one phase of our life to another, this frequency would support the body and support the mind and the spirit. 528 hertz is the DNA repair frequency. It is one of my favorite frequencies to work with and to do sound healings with. It is the frequency of transformation and miracles, and it is known as the me frequency. 639 is about creating connection. It's about relationships, building relationships, harmonious relationships. It's the Fa frequency. And there are also two others. So I want to share these two others with you. The Soul frequency, which is 741, which is about awakening your intuition. And 852 hertz, the La frequency, which is about returning to spirit. So it's about that union with the divine. So these frequencies are very powerful tools to work with. And you can go on YouTube and type in solfeggio frequencies, or type in 417 hertz or 639 hertz or 528 hertz, whatever you want to work with, and just play it in the background. Play it in the background and see what happens. Because I'm just telling you, if you experience it, it shifts your mind. It shifts the neural pathways. It creates new neural pathways in the brain. It shifts the way that the cells in your body are vibrating. So think about it. You just think about what kind of music. Let's think about music. So you know how there are certain songs that either make us feel very sad or very happy or excited, or they connect us, they remind us of a memory. So if it was a happy memory, we feel happy when we listen to the song. If it was a sad memory, we go back to that same emotional place where we were when we initially heard that song. So many of the times, we are shifting our resonance without even knowing. So if we're constantly listening to music that is about heartbreak, is about cheating, is about this person wronged me and fuck them, or I'm gonna, here, one of my favorite ones, I'll bust the windows out his car, and I can't remember the rest of the words, but something about busting the windows out of a guy's car, or before he cheats, Carrie Underwood. How does it go? I dug my key into the side of his pretty little souped up four-wheel drive, carved my name into his leather seats. I took a Louisville Slugger to both headlights. Remember? Just think of, just listen to the words, and they emit a sympathetic response. You remember when you listen to these songs, the time that person screwed you over, and you remember, and your heart starts beating differently because you're going back to that place emotionally where you were wronged. And it's normal. This is life. We all have heartbreaks. We all have people that do us dirty. There's nothing wrong with that. But the key is to learn what your frequency is, and to utilize whatever it is in your environment to create the world that you wish to live in. Create the life that is in alignment with your soul, or maybe it's not, or maybe it isn't, or maybe it is. So it really is about becoming aware. The more that we replay a certain mantra, so rap music, hip hop, same beats, most of the music is pretty much the same beats regurgitated and repositioned in a certain way. And they all pretty much talk about the same thing. Oh, where's bitch better have my money, or, some hoe in different area codes, whatever. Like it's, and I might be dating myself. Like you might be listening to this and be like, hoes in different area codes? Ludicrous. Look them up. But this is what I'm saying, that everything has a frequency. And the more that you attune, this is entrainment. The more that you listen to a specific frequency, the more you are entraining your body, your cells, your thoughts to go to those specific instances, to go to that place of hardness or of deceit or of disloyalty or of disunity. The more that we listen to those particular, anything that has a resonance that is, whatever the resonance is, let's not make it good or bad. Whatever the resonance is, the more that you attune yourself to that resonance, that's going to become your dominant frequency, your dominant resonance. So awareness, as I mentioned, is key. What are we aligning to? What are we using our powerful creative energy, our energy to manifest worlds? What are we using it to perpetuate, to manifest more of? Because it's in our control. So let's just say that we are constantly experiencing heartbreak. We are constantly choosing the wrong person to align ourselves with, to be with. We're constantly choosing the same toxic individual. What is the resonance of our heart? Are we vibrating at a resonance of unconditional love, particularly towards ourselves? And then, of course, towards other people. And it's not saying that if you are emitting unconditional love, that people aren't going to be attracted to it who just want to take from you. It's not saying that. But when you are vibrating at the frequency of unconditional love, you start to develop wisdom and discernment to know when people are using you, to know when the same pattern is about to replay itself, and you can choose differently. And it is all about our choice. It is all about what we are choosing to embody. That's another favorite word of mine, embodiment. Like, what are we grounding into our cells? So every chakra, every endocrine gland in your body, every organ has a frequency. It has a resonance. The more that we can attune to a frequency of love, a frequency of harmony, the more that we can embody our power and our sovereignty and consciously manifest and co-create our reality. And there will be circumstances where people just don't resonate with you. Like, have you ever listened to someone and it's just like, oh God, really? More of this nonsense? And that's a normal response, because we are human beings and we are conditioned to be constantly judging whether a situation is either good or bad for us. Either are they conducive to our well-being or not. This is simply how human beings are wired, because of evolution, because of our physiology, because of hunter-gatherer days when we needed to know that the roar of a lion was the roar of a dangerous animal that was going to come and eat us. So we didn't want that. So we needed to learn what sounded like a good frequency and what didn't. So this is natural to us. However, because of our conditioning and because of society and because of all the things that we are bombarded with on a daily basis, many of us have come out of resonance and out of harmony and out of alignment with that true nature of ourselves, of really knowing whether something is beneficial or not. We've become confused. And the way that you become unconfused, the way that you gain clarity, is by really working on your stuff, understanding also every emotion has a frequency. Every emotion has a frequency. So everything you feel is telling you something about your inner world and about where you may want to look so you can shift and change and transmute and transform. So your emotions are energy in motion. Your emotions are what is giving you the insight into what it is that you need to look at. And most of us are taught, oh, well, that's ugly. I don't want to look at that. Let's save that for another day, or let's not deal with that. Let's shove that under the rug because I don't want to have this uncomfortable conversation with my mother about this because she never understands, or with my beloved about this because he always flies off the handle. It's still that those things that we don't want to deal with are those things that we should look into working on, should look into resolving, because the more that we prolong and the more that we avoid, the more that life is going to just start, the challenges are going to get far, far more intense. And having come from a perspective where there were several issues in terms of my relationships with men, and my relationships where there was disharmony in general, not just in relationships with men, there was a certain level of self-awareness that I had to get to, and a level of self-love that I had to cultivate within myself so that I could identify those situations. Because if you are raised in an environment where you did not feel safe, where you did not feel loved, where you were constantly pushed away, situations where you are in those spaces where you are unloved, unsafe, not seen, unvalidated, where you are disregarded, those situations feel safe for you as a grown-up. And you gravitate towards those relationships because this is what you believe is safety. So it's really an unraveling of these beliefs and these patterns and these structures that have been created around our being that are completely out of whack, completely out of alignment, and aren't love. They are not the structures of support of love. And for me, it took relearning, reparenting myself to, when this person is nice to me, it's sincere. And recognizing that as safety, recognizing the love that your beloved shows you, the love, the support, the care as safety, as opposed to recognizing it as, I don't know what to do with that. That person is just a pansy. They don't know how to be a man. Because many times we, particularly women who have been in traumatic, abusive relationships, we are taught that masculinity, we internalize that masculinity is that macho kind of behavior that is controlling, manipulative, jealous, withholding, distant. We are taught that that is masculinity, but that is not masculinity. That is exactly the opposite. Because let's just look at it in terms of the divine masculine, the divine feminine. The divine feminine is creation, flow, is harmony, is change, is fertility, is abundance, is just all this energy of just juicy aliveness. The masculine, the divine masculine, is that energy of safety, of protection, of holding the structures and the container for the feminine to express. Like, okay, okay, getting a whole bunch of energy down my crown chakra. Yes, so I'm going to say that again. The masculine's role is to hold the container, a safe, secure container for the feminine to express her magic, to express her fertility, her creation, to go into the earth and birth a tree, a flower. That is the masculine's role. And that, like, when I was able to embody and internalize that, my relationship with men, with the masculine, and not just the masculine within myself, but also the masculine outside, shifted. There is a feeling of safety when you are held by the masculine that just is liberating and exhilarating, and it's freedom and it's sovereignty because you know that you are held. And this comes back to us holding ourselves and holding our frequency and our resonance, aligning it with what it is that we are choosing to birth, to embody, to manifest, to create. It is that alignment with ourselves, that knowing what is true and what is false, what is something we have taken on from someone else that isn't ours, that we don't wish to perpetuate, and starting to shed that stuff. And sound is really powerful for getting us to that place and for helping us understand our own nonsense, because we all have nonsense. We all have bullshit that we've told ourselves, or stories about us. Like, this is the truth, and we constantly repeat this. I'm not good enough because blah, blah, blah. My mother always told me that everything is difficult for me. So again, we start repeating these stories, and these stories become the soundtrack to our life. And we create unconsciously from these patterns that we have inherited. And this can be stuff that was told to your grandmother by your great grandmother, and they passed on to your mother and to you in utero. So it's like we oftentimes don't know where this stuff comes from, and that's okay. You don't need to know where it comes from. We just need to become aware and then choose to resonate at a different frequency, to hear a different vibration, to start singing another song, start attuning ourselves and entraining ourselves to a different frequency, one that is of freedom, one that is of sovereignty, one that is of love, one that is of abundance. And it's all wrapped up in our energy field. It's all in us, because we can come back to that place within us where we understand and embody ourselves as infinite consciousness, which is what we are. And we come back to remembrance of this and an integration of this being our truth. And then we start liberating and shedding all those layers of ourselves that we thought were us, that we thought were defining parts of our nature when they weren't. So mantras are very, very powerful, particularly mantras in ancient languages. So Sanskrit, Aramaic, even biblical Hebrew, these are very, very powerful languages, ancient languages, that if we recite a mantra in this language, we're in a lot of ways, we're speaking light language. Light language is the language of the universe. It is tone, not stone. It is tone, it is frequency, it is vibration, and it is not something that the mind comprehends. It is something that is felt in the heart. It is something that is felt in your field. But the mind doesn't quite understand because it's not resonating at the frequency that the mind, it's going beyond the mind. And these ancient languages, so I was watching Gaia, and they were talking about how Sanskrit, one of the ancient languages the Vedic texts in India are written in, is actually the only written, it's the written language of the Andromedans. I'm pretty sure it was the Andromedans. So the Andromedans are a multidimensional nomadic species that is part of one of the interplanetary, interdimensional species that supported humanity and donated DNA to our evolution. So it is said that the Andromedans gave us Sanskrit. So it's kind of amazing that we still have this record of this ancient civilization, of this multidimensional beings still here on Earth. And that's probably just one of the ones that we've discovered, because I'm sure that like our planet is millions of years old. How many ancient civilizations have been here on Earth that we have absolutely no consciousness of? We don't know. Like they say, they don't know how the pyramids were built. Many say it was through sound. How were the stones at Stonehenge that were quarried miles and miles over ravines and rivers in England, quarried in Wales, make their way to Somerset? Like, it kind of blows your mind. And we have been trained that, oh, well, those ancient people, they native cultures, they're just heathens and savages, and we know so much better. I don't know. I think as a humanity, we've lost our knowledge of our own history. And thankfully, it's still encoded in certain places and certain indigenous cultures, or most indigenous cultures, if we actually listen and open ourselves and get out of the ego which tells us, well, I'm human of what century are we in? The 21st century. So I must know better than the humans of 20,000 years ago or 10,000 years ago. Like the level of arrogance in our species at this point in time is kind of like, wait, what? You really think you're the cat's pajamas or the cat's meow, however you say that? Do you really think? Like, do we really think that we are the epitome of all things? Like, I personally can say I do not think that I am the epitome of this humanity, because there's so many things that are out of whack in our world that I'm like, really? This is the best we could do? And we consider ourselves the pinnacle of human civilization? I don't know. I have questions and research to do, because that does not ring true for me. Like the amount of separation and delusion and illusion and just the way that we as a humanity go forth in the world unconsciously, like that just doesn't feel right to me. So again, but it's the frequency, it's the resonance. What are we choosing to embody and harmonize with? Like it really comes down to that. It comes down to really becoming heart-centered and trusting that we are held by the divine, that we are being supported, we are being guided, and then creating that community around you where you support and align and love one another, and where there is that evolution into sovereignty, into embodiment, into understanding that we are vibrating at a specific frequency. And when we are off, like, okay, I'm off. I'm going to come right back to my heart, come right back to my alignment, and shift and transform and transmute. This is the power of sound. This is the power of understanding your resonance and your frequency, because we all have a frequency that we have our natural frequency, our natural place that we vibrate. And this is the natural, by natural, I'm saying the one that is aligned with our soul, the one that is like the true essence. And then there's the frequency we think is our natural frequency, that is the frequency that has been taught to us. So if we live in an inner city neighborhood, well, all there is crime and poverty, and no one can ever rise up, and no one can ever get educated and own their own business or create their own life, and there are only X number of pathways to escape this reality, then that's the frequency we are entrained to. This is the frequency we learn and we begin to harmonize with as we're growing into adulthood. But as adults, we have the ability to look beyond what we have been programmed into thinking these are our only choices, A or B. And we can transform those parts of ourselves that took these identities on and create something that is in harmony with ourselves, with our light, with our soul. And this is what we are doing. This is what we are supporting one another in doing as a conscious collective, as a humanity. And sure, there are people that will never get this and be like, oh, sound? The hell's that? But the more that you deep dive into these frequencies, into understanding your own, the more that you consciously create, co-create, manifest your reality. It really is within you. And there are many ways to shift your frequency. The first is just becoming aware. Becoming aware of where you're vibrating at. And without judgment, without guilt, without shame, without putting a value judgment on it, which oftentimes is very, very difficult because this is what society tells us to do. Either something is good or bad. But let's do our best to move beyond that. Move beyond putting a label of good, bad on something. Just experience it. Experience it and allow it to show you where you need to shift, where you need to work. If there's a lot of fear right now there's a lot of fear in the collective. If there's a lot of fear, turn off the news. It's just programming. Attune yourself to the earth. Feel the grounding and the safety of the earth. It's always there. And we start dissolving this fear. We start giving ourselves the tools to feel safe, to feel protected, to feel supported. And these tools can be music of a better frequency, mantras, sound healing, energy healing. It can be practices. It can be working with your body. Some people really need to work with their body because it's just, if they don't work with their body, they have pent up energy and they're always like shaking and always having to do something because their energy is not grounded. So when we ground our energy, when we go in nature, when we start shifting what we see and start reprogramming our mind, meditation, very, very important. Breath work allows us to really engage the parasympathetic system, which is the system that is not fight or flight. So sympathetic system is the fight or flight system. So it's the fear, anxiety. It's that, fight or flight, wanting to find safety. But if the body is constantly in this state, the body cannot regenerate. The body cannot heal. Which is why working with breath, working with meditation, working with sound, working with the body, exercise, going out in nature, hiking, being out in the sun, working, engaging your vagus nerve. All of these mantras, chanting, music, art, creativity, all of these are tools for us to come back to our heart, come back to our center, come back to our alignment, and be mindful of our frequency. And sometimes we may shift downwards for a bit, but the more that we entrain ourselves to the higher frequencies, the more that the periods where we are out of alignment will be shorter and shorter, because it's just training. It's just habit, forming a new habit, forming a new way of thinking, creating new neural pathways in your brain where they didn't exist before, that are more in alignment and in harmony with the life that you wish to create. And it's all up to you. Like, it really is. Even though sometimes it feels daunting, it feels challenging, it feels hard, very hard, because you go out in the world and other people just push your damn buttons, and it's not easy. But send those situations love and come back to your heart, come back to your alignment, come back to your center, come back. Choose the frequency. Choose your frequency. Choose what it is that you wish to experience, what it is that you wish to birth and give forth into the world. What are you feeding with your energy? And let me talk about food real quick. The food that you eat, and I've been saying this, I spent years being a health coach and learning nutrition and the body and superfoods and alignment and alignment in your hormones. So balancing the hormones and gut, like bacteria, healthy gut bacteria, creating those circumstances. So food also has a frequency. So if you're constantly eating processed food with chemicals and dyes and nonsense and toxic chemicals that your body does not know what to do with, your body is going to be vibrating and operating at a lower resonance, which over time leads to illness. So let's be mindful of the water. Charge your water with love. Invest in your health, in your well-being, because your physical health is just as important as your emotional and spiritual health. There is no separation. All of it is interconnected. And the more that we come to our inner alignment, emotionally and spiritually, the more that we will shift our physical habits. And sometimes it happens the opposite way. Sometimes we shift our physical habits, and that opens the way and clears the pathways for you to shift into greater emotional and spiritual alignment. So it doesn't matter how it happens. For me, it was physical first. I had to resolve the physical issues I had and clear out my detoxification pathways and resolve my physical issues before I could delve deep into my emotional and spiritual well-being. Not everyone is the same, and wherever you are, all of these tools are available to you and are there to support you in your alignment, in raising your vibration, raising your frequency, in aligning with your heart, with your soul, with the reason why you incarnated on this earth. And geez, I spent many years being like, oh God, get me off this rock. Get me off this rock. Aliens, come on, get me off. And I'm sure that some of you have felt that too. It's like, these people are crazy. But these people are you. And these people are parts of yourselves, myself as well, that hasn't been healed, that hasn't been looked at, that hasn't been loved. So I urge you to come back into your alignment, come back into your heart, delve into the different modalities that call to your soul so that you can continue and strengthen your own vibration and your own resonance and your own frequency so that you may be in alignment with your heart and with your soul. So I thank you for listening, and I will be sharing a sound healing to support our resonance and our vibration and our frequency up next. So do enjoy that sound healing. And as always, I am sending you every blessing, every love. Ahava.